wow, you've never seen this on television in your life ever. Same thing when we sold BET. This is what I'm talking about when I talk about the propaganda campaign, the war and the propaganda campaign against the black image. One of the first things and the worst things that we did in this war was sell BET. And pay attention, because when we had BET, we had shows like Teen Summit, College Hill, Chopped Up with Cousin Jeff and all that shit. Soon as we sold BET, that shit was gone. And your first TV show was American Gangster. Now mind you, on BET, they've never had a show on BET, even in its golden era of the shows that I was mentioning with Teen Summit and Chopped Up with Cousin Jeff and all that good stuff. Even in its golden era, BET, I vaguely remember BET having a show dedicated to true black history. You know what I'm saying? Yet and still, behold, when BET finally gets sold, when Bob Johnson finally sells BET, the first TV show that they make is American Gangster. Now, the savagery and the stereotypical imagery that is thrown out here is made to preserve white supremacy. It's made to preserve white supremacy, as to deflect all of their criminal history. You understand? And crown you as the American gangster, when the white man know full and goddamn well that he is the true American gangster and he is the true world gangster and world thug. There is no greater murderer, thief, rapist, no greater criminal on the planet than the European. And there's no more brutal history on the planet than American history. So this is why we have such displacement and now such a misappropriation of energy. And what it takes first and foremost is us being honest with all of the bullshit that we have let go, that we have just let pass us. And what do we deserve? Do we really deserve? That's my only question. Do we really deserve the help from the Most High? Do we really deserve blessings from the Most High with the Antichrist activity that we have, that so many millions and millions of Americans have partaken in? Because first and foremost, understand this: whether white, black, or whomever you are. No, it's Hebrews chapter 6. Hebrews chapter 6 say move on from the elementary principles of Christ, the laying on hands of baptism, the death and resurrection of Christ, judgment day. It calls all of that elementary, and it calls it immature. So therefore implying that everything that y'all talk about, especially in these churches, is immature. So the real deal is, why did Christ die? If that's immature, then for us to move to maturity, the first understanding we must have is, why did Christ die? And Christ died because he was standing against government corruption and injustice and religious corruption and popes raping little boys and all that shit. You know what I'm saying? That's what the true Christ was doing and the true Heru was doing. You know what I'm saying? Hebrews chapter 6, man. Move on from all the elementary principles of Christ, and let's move on to perfection. Let's move on to maturity. Some versions say perfection, some versions say maturity. They one and the same, perfection and maturity. Christ say, "Be ye perfect as I am." Perfect is mature. They're the same thing. You understand? But that's why Christ died. So for anyone who is not standing up against government corruption, and for those who want to silence those of my kind and those like myself and those who come before me, you are Antichrist. You are Antichrist, and you are of the scum of the cosmos, and you are of the bare evils, the essence of evil. So, brothers and sisters, so many things. And that's the number one thing that I wanted to lay on y'all. And for to back up the shit that I say, go get the movie The Book of Eli. You know how they always say, if you want to hide something from somebody, you put it in the book. If you want to hide something from somebody, you put it in the book. Not just for black people, but if you want to hide something from people, period, you put it in the book. Because people just don't read and shit anyway. You know what I'm saying? And the Book of Eli, important to understand that Hollywood is the highest form of literature. All of these movies and TV shows have to be written, the highest form of literature. So that's why I referenced that quote, if you want to hide something, you put it in the book, because Hollywood being the highest form of literature, so many so many TV shows and movies and film and cinema that's been made that are allegorically outstanding and metaphysically outstanding that you may have missed on. And one of them that to back up the scripture that I just mentioned of Hebrews chapter 6 and how Christ stood against the injustice, and that's why he was really killed, not for your sins. So many times, and that's another thing I want to say, so many times in the red letters within those 4 books, when Christ is speaking, he says, pick up your cross and follow me. Pick up your cross and follow me. So I don't know where people get all this, he died on the cross for me shit. You know what I'm saying? So many times he said, pick up the cross and pick up your cross and follow me. You know what I'm saying? Be like me type. So the Book of Eli, just taking you back to the Book of Eli. In the Book of Eli, you have Denzel Washington representing black people, and you have the main character whose name is Carnegie. The richest man on the planet. I don't know if you ever heard of him. His name was Andrew Carnegie, notorious racist and native rapist of people's natural land, of people's lands. Andrew Carnegie, who hijacked all native people's resources and life force everywhere around the planet. This was Andrew Carnegie. So in the movie The Book of Eli, you have the main character who is Carnegie and Denzel. And Carnegie is this guy who runs this white town who you can metaphysically and allegorically parallel to America. This Carnegie's running this town, and his wife is blind. And mind you, white women didn't get rights until the 1920s. That is relatively very, very modern and very, very recent in human history. White women didn't get rights till the 1920s. In the Book of Eli, this guy named Carnegie's wife is blind. She's blind. The whole town that he runs, they can't read. This whole movie is about books. It's not about money. It's not about, it's not about gold or anything. It's about books and knowledge, And when it comes to the part where Denzel finally gets to the town, he's asking Denzel, he's implying about this book, and he's asking him about this book. And he says something to Denzel to the extent that he says something like, we're the only ones here that can read, right? We're the only ones here that can read. Now, mind you, his wife is blind, and he's telling Denzel, we're the only ones here that can read, right? So it's just like America, how it shows you how the white man has kept power even at the expense of keeping all of his people blind and his woman blind, and how he has kept power at the expense of just keeping his people ignorant and sacrificing their knowledge and their conscience. And also a great part in the movie when he tells Denzel, when Denzel's trying to leave because they finally found out that he has the book, and the dude tells him, give me that book because these people need it to help out their psyche and the shit that they're doing. You know what I'm saying? It's just like that's the main reason that they made the Bible, to justify European domination and white domination. And he says all of these things in the movie. The Book of Eli. And at the end of the Book of Eli, you have Denzel on the couch just speaking, and they're making the King James version just off of him speaking. So much of the Bible is totally based on African people, all the way from Adam and Eve, to the prophecy of Christ, So, man, brothers and sisters, like I say, man, we can go on and on, but understand the propaganda campaign against the African black image, and that goes all the way from Michael Jackson and Bill Cosby. That's another thing I wanted to touch on is Michael Jackson and Bill Cosby is understanding first and foremost. That's why they had such a war against Michael Jackson. Understand that Michael Jackson owned half of Sony. He owned the Beatles catalog. He owned Elvis's catalog, and he was fucking Elvis's daughter. So think about the money that Mike was a very smart brother. Mike was a very intelligent brother. And he was finna walk away from Sony, owning half of Sony, and he was finna start his own distribution label. That's the bottom line. The bottom line is Michael Jackson was about to tank the music industry all by himself. Imagine if Michael Jackson would have been able to walk away from. That's why he made This Is It. You know what I'm saying? Because he was saying that this is finna be it, and I'm finna make this move, baby. Because he had been telling them with that they don't care about us and all. Mike's whole swag, Mike's whole mentality and consciousness had changed before he passed. But the only thing is black people didn't have his back when it came time. And that is my issue with black folk. We don't fucking have each other back. Black folk are the biggest prostitutes on the goddamn planet. My brothers and sisters are the biggest prostitutes on the planet. You understand? We'll sell BET, we'll sell out ourselves, and it's sick. We really have such a beaten wife complex. We have a true beaten wife complex. And we got to get out of the fuckery, man. We got to get out of the fuckery because the ancestors nor the Most High respect that. And my only question to y'all is, man, would you ask a Jew salute the swastika? Would you ask a Jew salute the swastika? That is the same thing we do every day when we pay homage to the American flag and we shed tears at the American flag. That is the same exact thing as a fucking Jew saluting the swastika and shedding tears when he sees the swastika. The mental illness in that is it behooves me. It behooves me. And it puts me into a loss of words just when I think about the mental illness that will become that is manifested in such vessels. Brothers and sisters, I say so many things we can go on and on about, so many things. But comment, share, like, ask questions, holler at me, and be proud to be African, baby, because you are African. That's the last thing that I guess I can say. You are African. American law recognizes colored people as people of African ancestry. And if they recognize you as people of African ancestry, might as well call yourself African. You know what I'm saying? People of African ancestry. So, it is what it is, man. Love you. God bless. Brothers and sisters, be safe to the next episode. Y'all ready? Chill.